Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aimi Naziha binti Muhammad Thani. Under the supervision of Dr. Nawati binti Mansur, I will be presenting about one of my client's issue that is related to intrapersonal issue, and the client code is NT1120F. Okay, next, the counseling site. So the place where I conducted all my counseling sessions is at IIUM Gombak. So a brief description of the site. IIUM consists of 14 faculties, and there are many races, but the majority of the race is Malay. And one of the uniqueness of the university is that IIUM is one of the top 5 Islamic university of the world. Okay, so for my case, I categorize my case as intrapersonal issue, and the type of case is an enhancement type, which is more to character building. Okay, so these are the content of my presentation today. Moving on to the theoretical orientation. So the most common theory that I use throughout my counseling session is CBT, which is cognitive behavior therapy. So this is because I can see that this therapy help clients to become more aware of their self-statement. Meanwhile, the theory that I use for this case is REBT, or Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, as it helps the client to understand how their unhealthy thoughts and beliefs can create emotional distress. Okay, next is the demographic descriptions of the client. So my client with the code number of NT1120F is a 23-year-old female student at IIUM Gombak. She is a Malay and a Muslim. She is the second child from 5 siblings. She lives with her family at Kuala Lumpur. Her mother is currently working as a teacher while her father is not working. She is also well known as a quiet student at her university, but very humble and kind-hearted person. She came for counseling session voluntarily and had once experienced seeking for help from professional counselor before this. She is from middle class of socio-economic status. In terms of academic, she always get good results in the examination, and now she is taking psychology courses. She had no problem with her study. However, her concern right now is related to her thinking and feelings that might disturb her concentration in completing her coursework. So she realized that this problem will affect her academic performance and daily schedule if no actions were taken. So during the first counseling session, the client looks quite uncomfortable and she put a limit on what she wanted to say. She admits that she needs time to build trust with someone before she expresses her feelings. However, she seems to get used with the uncomfortable feelings and able to speak lengthy after several sessions were conducted. Okay, so these are the biopsychosocial history of the client. So first, in terms of interpersonal and social relationship, the client has no issue with her family members and also her friends. She has a good relationship with friends, but at the same time, she prefers to be alone in any time. So for academic, she is currently taking psychology course and she always get dean's list. In terms of career, she wanted to become a psychologist. For counseling history, this is her second time attending counseling, and based on what she said, she claimed that the previous counseling session was not really helpful for her, and she also implement the Islamic principle and Malay tradition for her life. Okay, next, these are the presenting issues based on what the client said throughout the session. So first, the client is self-referred, and the problem that she claimed is she had a personal problem with herself. So she came because of her uncontrollable thinking about herself, and she admit that she always worry about what people say about her. Okay, so second is intrapersonal issue. She is lack of self-love and always overthink. This is where she do not know how to change her thinking and feelings in several situations. And third, she realized about the difficulty that she faced to change her thinking. So from this issue, she said that she will always try to improve herself, try to change herself just because to please others, just because to fulfill people's expectation towards her. And the number of sessions that I conducted with her is 5. So these are the list that what I'm going to present in my treatment plan. Okay, next is the assessment of the case. So this is based on the mental status exam. So it has been divided into three columns. The first one is cognitive, second is emotional, and the third one is behavior. So this is based on my own observation to the client. In terms of cognitive, I can see that she is the kind of person that is very afraid to trust someone easily. So she takes some time to be open about her issue, her concern, also her feelings. And then she also had negative thoughts about herself and also others. In terms of emotional, during the first session, I can see that she looked sad and disturbed by her own issue and concern, and also she is very careful in delivering her words, just in case her words might hurt others. Okay, so in behavior, she also limit herself in exposing herself. Exposed about her feelings, her thoughts, and emotions, but she never conduct any disruptive behavior. So overall, I can say that the client's strength is that she always gives full attention and respect to me as a counselor, but she takes some time to gain the trust from me. Okay, so after conducting several sessions with the client, I identified three main issues. So the first one is overthinking, second is lack of self-love, and the third one is low self-confidence. So next, treatment goals. So after having a long discussion with the client, so we come up with three treatment goals. The first one is to reduce her overthinking. Second, to identify strategies on how to develop self-love. And the third one is to develop ways on how to boost her self-confidence. So the total number of sessions that I conducted with her is 5. So the first session, I built rapport with the client, explore the client's background and also her family, and I also asked her expectations from the counseling session. The second session, I tried to identify the main issue that disturbed her. Okay, so we set goals on what she wanted to achieve from the counseling session, and also I identify the factors of her overthinking and lack of self-love. Okay, the third session, I asked her to list down the consequences of being overthinking, and then I try to dispute her irrational belief by conducting an activity. And the last one is I give her information on how to reduce her overthinking. The fourth session, I conducted a role play where I asked her to rehearse certain situations that can make her express her real feelings. Second, I work on her irrational beliefs related to her unpleasant feelings, how to dispute the negative thoughts, and I asked her to share her feelings after doing the activity, reflection, and more to reflection. And then for the last session, I follow up with her based on the previous session's activity, because she shows improvement in dealing with real situation on how to not fulfill people's expectation towards her. Okay, so these are the treatment interventions that I made. So for the first goal, which is to reduce her overthinking, the strategy that I use is disputing her irrational belief. So the theory that I use is REBT therapy by using the ABC framework. For the second goal, which is related to self-love, I give new ways on how to self-love. So for this one, the theory that I use is cognitive behavior therapy. And for the last one, related to her self-confidence, the strategy that I use is cognitive restructuring. So the theory that I use is CBT, which is cognitive behavior therapy. Next is illustration of intervention. So like I mentioned just now, the first issue of the client is overthinking. So how to reduce her overthinking? I apply the REBT therapy, which is related to ABC framework. So first, in activating the event, I asked her to write down any event or situation that trigger her thinking. So she said, I expressed my feelings on social media, but then my friends condemning me for exposing myself to public. So that triggered her mind. So her belief on that time is that she believed that many people are not comfortable with her action, so she stopped whatever she are doing right now on that time. And then the consequences of her action, she will never being expressive anymore and not going to update her daily life to others. So she become passive because of that situation, because of the event. And how to dispute her thinking? She said it's okay. She do not have to sacrifice her own happiness for others, just keep doing what she wanted to do. So the research evidence here is from Scharf 2008, where he mentioned that individuals' problems not only from activity events but from their beliefs about such events. Next is illustration of intervention 2. So the second issue is self-love. So she wanted to identify strategies on how to develop more self-love. So the technique that I use is psychoeducational therapy. I help the client to explore new ways to self-love. I give her new information that she never heard before this, and I help her to identify the effect of not having self-love, and I asked her to list out things that she loves about herself. So on that time, there are many things that she loved about herself that she didn't even realize before this. Okay, so the research evidence is from Rishi 2017, where he mentioned that individual psychoeducation can be more specific and focused and can cover information that is more relevant for an individual situation. Okay, third is illustration of intervention for self-confidence. So I wanted to help her on how to boost her self-confidence. So the technique that I use is cognitive restructuring. So this is related to CBT, where I help the client to think in more realistic ways. For example, there are questions that I want her to ask herself. Is this thought realistic? Am I classifying my thoughts on facts or on feelings? What is the evidence for these thoughts? If she when she didn't come out with evidence, then she had to dispute that kind of belief to be more positive. So the research evidence that I found is from back 2016, where he emphasized about the importance of questioning as a way to explore complex ideas from uncovered assumptions. Okay, next, the way that I terminate the case is with my client's consent. This is because all the planned treatment goals are achieved. This is when the client herself can give a high level of skill uh, on her decrease of overthinking, and she can also develop more self-love based on what she learned from the counseling session. Okay, so based on the evaluation form that I got from the client, she said that the counseling session was very helpful because she can now be more positive in her own thinking about herself and also others. But she said that it will be more helpful if more activities were conducted. Okay, and then what she can observe throughout the counseling session. Is that she participate actively throughout the session, and she are more capable to practice her own coping strategies whenever the issues come up again in the future. So these are my own professional reflections about my counseling skills. So I think there are certain areas that need to be improved, but the most important thing is that I have to learn more new and um, new activities and interventions that is more suitable with the changes of era in this time. And I think I have to use more formal wording or a formal way to speak with my client, because sometimes I found that simple words are more fun for me to say throughout the session. Okay, last but not least, to conclude, I can say that the theory that I use in this case, which is RABT, is the correct choice, because I can see there are many positive improvements on my clients. This is not only based on my own observation, but also based on her own opinion throughout the 5 sessions. So I think I should increase more on my training skills to be more professional in the future. Okay, so these are all the references that I found for my research. And the last one is appendices. So these are the proof of the activity that I conducted with the client. So as you can see, there are self-love activity, RABT theory that I used to dispute her negative thoughts, and also evaluation form that I got from the client. And that's all from me. Thank you.